Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us on this Monday morning. We're rolling right along. It's 6:07, the second hour of O'Connor and Company. We've got a great lineup today. At 7:05, we'll talk to Joe DeGeneva. He'll give us the latest legal news. At 7:35, Trevor Mattich on the Commanders' loss to the Buccaneers yesterday. At 8:05, Virginia Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears on her run for governor. It's so exciting. And at 8:35, we'll talk to Tom Fitton. He's president of Judicial Watch, and he will also talk about Trump's latest legal issues, and he'll give us an update on the Secret Service. I'm Julie Gunlock alongside Joe Concha, Fox News contributor and author of the new book, Progressively Worse. Joe, thanks so much for coming on and sitting in Larry's seat this morning.
Julie, it happened again. The Buccaneers have scored again on the Redskins. I'm sorry, who are they? The Commanders.
Joe, I know
Where's
it's hard
the
I know it's hard to focus on the show. Try to turn away from the game for a few minutes.
I'm sorry. They just keep scoring this. Baker Mayfield, the Commanders defense. What happened to the old Hogs, the old Dexter Manley?
I know. It was tough. It was tough.
Long time ago, isn't it? Yeah.
You know, Joe, we're going to talk to Joe DeGeneva and also Tom Fitton later this morning on this issue, but let's talk about this decision on Friday. Judge Merchan has delayed Trump's sentencing until after the election. This is the second delay. It was supposed to, I think, happen in July, and then it got moved to September 18th, and now it's after the election. Judge Merchan said the public's confidence, I love this, the public's confidence in the integrity of our judicial system. Okay, well, that ship has already gone. Okay, you guys have damaged the integrity of the judicial system a long time ago. Alvin Bragg and Fannie and all these, Letitia James. Okay, so he goes on. He said, the integrity of our judicial system demands a sentencing hearing that is entirely focused on the verdict of the jury and the weighing of aggravated and mitigating factors free from distraction or distortion. Your thoughts on this second delay?
Our friend Andy McCarthy, Fox News contributor, also worked in the judicial system and actually did it with integrity. He has a great piece out in National Review, and he talks about how Judge Juan Merchan postponed Donald Trump's sentencing in the Manhattan criminal case. It was the right call, but Merchan's weeks of hand-wringing over what should have been a no-brainer are telling. He's basically saying he's doing it for the wrong reasons. In other words, let's say he did sentence Donald Trump to jail, right? What does that do for Donald Trump's poll numbers? Well, conventional thinking says that, they go down. No, actually, as we've seen from the lawfare efforts, it goes up because you make Trump a martyr, and it basically makes the argument for Trump that the judicial system is being weaponized against him for political purposes. So he couldn't sentence him now because if he does that, then Trump's numbers only go up. So he only postponed this until November 26th because it would help Trump no matter what he did at this point. And the guy's a hack. Let's face it. His daughter literally was just hired by the Kamala Harris campaign. That alone is your conflict of interest. But of course, that gets ignored by our media.
Well, and also, this case was prosecuted before the Supreme Court came down with their ruling on official acts. And, in the prosecution, Bragg used, for instance, Trump's communication with Hope Hicks and other officials in the White House, and these were clearly his official duty. And so the case itself is needs to be thrown out. It is again, the 34 counts did not take into account, the protections that the president has under the Supreme Court ruling. So it'll be interesting to watch this. I think you're absolutely right that this only helps Trump. No matter what happens, this helps Trump. And I think even this delay is a message to the American public that this case is a complete mess.
I just love the fact that George Conway's single life isn't going very well for him because he's on Twitter like 24/7, like complaining about this stuff. And the fact that if you told me at the beginning of this year that the Fani Willis case in Georgia would completely implode because she decided to hire her boyfriend to be the prosecutor he's like the Better Call Saul of Fulton County, Georgia, right? Like this guy has no business prosecuting any RICO case. But fine, she hires him. That gets exposed. So that's gone. And then Jack Smith, oh boy, he's serious. He's a bulldog. He's irrelevant now at this point because his cases had been thrown out basically or delayed until after the election. And then you obviously had the cases in Manhattan where, Donald Trump is a convicted felon. For what exactly? You could go out to the street right now, ask 100 people, what was Donald Trump convicted of? And they won't be able to tell you because I can't even tell you exactly what crime was committed there as far as that case was concerned.
Well,
Donald Trump. Mar-a-Lago's worth $18 million. Really? The tennis court's worth $18 million at that place, but fine. I could go on, but all of these cases have completely imploded, Julie.
And that is why we've seen them latch on in recent weeks onto this E. Jean Carroll case. They keep, they love to say he was convicted of rape. That was not, that case was not about rape. It was about that. He smeared her.
She can't remember the year that it happened.
Yes, but but the case wasn't even about rape. The case was about him smearing her, calling her crazy, and she won that case, which we know she would win that case in a Manhattan court. But again, you're absolutely right. It just came out that they've confirmed that the outfit she said she was wearing had not been even made at that point. So I mean, but again, they're going to sort of latch onto that case because it's all they have. That's the only conviction they really have now, that they can still sort of brag about, and that's what it is, bragging about it.
Do you remember E. Jean Carroll went on CNN with Anderson Cooper? Right, another phony in this business.
Yes,
and she said this, and I'm quoting right now. I think most people think rape as being sexy. Think of the fantasies. And then that courtroom would not allow that interview to be admitted into the record where, again, she doesn't remember the year that it happened. As you said, the outfit she said she wore at the time did not even exist. And then she goes on with Rachel Maddow and talks and brags about how she's going to spend the money that she won because rape victims do that all the time, right? So I'm just...
Well, this was all created at a cocktail party. You mentioned George Conway. I believe he was at that cocktail party at Molly Jong Slow's house. Molly Jong Fast. I do love that Twitter account, Molly Jong Slow. But Molly Jong Fast, how they sort of created, there was some SVU episode where they kind of created this idea for E. Jean Carroll to actually bring this case. It was all created by Never Trumpers, Trump haters wanting to get him. And so, when you look at the facts of that case, it's pretty weak.
That's why it's had no bearing on the polls or anything like that.
Yeah,
really.
exactly. Right. We will talk more about this and, obviously Trump's many legal cases with Tom Fitton and Joe DeGenova coming up right now. It is 6:15.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live
from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Well, Joe, Russia collusion is back.
Wow. I've seen this. This is a classic. I've seen this before.
This is what I was talking about earlier. I'm like, they're going to panic. They're going to panic when they see these Nate Silver stuff. They're going to panic. And what do we get? Russia. So on Friday, Washington Post, Russia election influence efforts show sophistication. And other headlines similarly saying that, Russia is interfering in our elections. Not a big surprise, Joe, right? I mean, first of all, not a surprise that Russia is trying to meddle in our elections. They do it every year. We sometimes meddle in other people's elections. That's the first thing I want to sort of point out. But again, this idea that it's all like meddling to help Trump. I don't think Russia really wants Trump to win. Am I wrong?
I think Putin just said that he wants Kamala Harris to win. Talk about a troll there. Yeah. Look, the truth is that Russia isn't interfering in our elections nearly as much as Joe Biden's and Kamala Harris's FBI and DOJ are right now, and our media as well. The fact that anybody thinks that some troll farms from Russia can actually change one vote in this country. They didn't in 2016. They didn't in 2020. Do they try to interfere? Sure, I guess. But there's no real effort being made that actually changes even one vote. So the fact they're even going back to this playbook, it tells you that Democrats are listening far too much to MSNBC and not enough to their own constituents in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada. And again, it's backfiring. Like, people are now laughing at this point because it's like, really? You're going to do this again? Because I'm pretty sure we don't buy it at this point.
I feel like it's Hollywood with the 7th remake of Ghostbusters. It's like they just, can you just get new material? Can you try to come up with something new? It's interesting, though, when you look at the Washington Post, how they're covering this. They're saying Moscow is using authentic U.S. voices on major social media platform to launder propaganda. They say the Russian government's covert efforts to sway the 2024 presidential election are more advanced than in recent years, and the most active foreign threat this political season, U.S. officials say. Again, they say Russia activities are more sophisticated than prior election cycles. So I guess that's where we get the creativity, Joe. They're trying to say, oh, no, it's not the same as previous years. They're actually much better at it. They've learned from the past years of trying to meddle, and they've gotten better at it. So this is the election we should really worry about.
Yeah, Russia's so sophisticated. I mean, this is really like it's the Soviet Union, 1984, Ivan Drago all over again. Oh, that's right. They can't even get to Kyiv, right, in Ukraine, because it's like the National Guard of Vermont, basically, is the Russian military that we're supposed to fear so much. And now this. This is what happens when you can't run on policy, right? Because they have no answers for inflation and how they're going to lower it. They have no answers for crime and how they're going to lower it. They have no answers for immigration and how they're going to lower it. They have no answer for all these foreign wars that they support. Wow, Democrats, the party of war. Who knew? I could go on and on, but that's what this party is about. And you mentioned it before. Fear is a great motivator as far as getting people out to the polls. But I don't know. I go to a barbecue and ask people, do you fear Russia interfering in our elections? And not one person will say, yeah, I do, actually. I think I'll vote Democrat, even though I'm having trouble feeding my family at this point.
Yeah. Well, you brought it up, too, and I just want to reiterate. The current White House had to hit back a few months ago when Vladimir Putin claimed he supported Kamala Harris over Donald. Oh, we do have the. Okay, go ahead and play it.
Well, her laugh, she's laughing. Her laugh is so fascinating. It means that everything is good.
Yes. So Putin there is saying, I support Kamala Harris over Donald Trump. So again, this idea that Putin is somehow backing Trump, it's not true. And of course he prefers Kamala Harris and her disastrous plans for foreign policy. Of course he does. The feckless Biden-Harris foreign policy is far preferable to what Trump would do. It's absolutely insane to suggest the reverse.
You can walk into Ukraine like they did under Biden and Harris, but under Trump, none of that happened now, did it?
No, it didn't.
Easy observation.
Yeah. We've got much more on this right now. It is 6:21 on WMAL. Joe, I watched the morning news shows this week, and I'm sure you did as well. And, Russia was definitely a focus of these programs. Meanwhile, they're ignoring some of the voter fraud and the questions about who is on these voter rolls. And that's something I wish more corporate media were focusing on. Donald Trump on Truth Social, he put up a post. He said an interview by Tucker Carlson of an election expert indicates that 20% of mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania are fraudulent. He said, here we go again. Where's the U.S. Attorney General and FBI to investigate? He's right. Where is the officials looking into this? We've seen what's been going on in Virginia. Governor Youngkin, he removed, nearly 6,500 non-citizens from voter rolls. That's fraud. And why is nobody, everybody's concerned about trolls on social media from Russia. Why is no one concerned about this?
Because it benefits the Democrat Party, right? So if you're the Attorney General at this point, you're not going to really look into this because you're looking into parents like me in school board meetings. And, because I'm the terrorist right now. Yeah. They also, in Nevada as well, have removed, let's see, I'm looking at this here. Senator Langford of Oklahoma, Republican. 42,000 people in Nevada voted more than once in the last election. 1,500 were dead. 19,000 didn't live in Nevada. 8,000 voted from a non-existent address. 15,000 registered to a commercial address, and 4,000 were non-citizens. Yeah, it's going on. But I think now, again, the jig is up. We're paying attention.
We're going to talk to Tom Fitton about this and many other issues. It is 6:30.
WMAL FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station.
Making sense of the news.
News Talk 105.9.
News now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us on this Monday morning. We are rolling along. It is 6:37 on the second hour of O'Connor and Company. We've got a great lineup today at 7:05. We'll talk to our friend Joe DeGeneva. 7:35. Trevor Maddich on the Commanders' loss to the Buccaneers yesterday. 8:05. Virginia Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears on her very exciting run for governor. At 8:35, Tom Fitton. He's president of Judicial Watch, and he'll give us the latest legal issues facing Trump. I'm Julie Gunlock alongside Joe Concha. Joe, how you doing this morning?
JJ, I'm doing okay. My Bears won yesterday, which was nice.
Aww.
My son won his flag football game, first ever debut, scored a touchdown, long run. We like to see that. My daughter had the best save ever. Go to Joe Concha TV, all right? Joe Concha TV on Twitter. You will see the save of your life. She not only scored a goal, they put her in goal in the second half, and she's like the Martin Brodeur of soccer. Since I don't follow soccer, I have to use a hockey analogy there, and I'm a Devils fan. But, yeah, it was a great day yesterday. It really was, and the weather was awesome. And as we talked about, it's going to be a great weather week.
It was
Washington, New Jersey, doesn't matter where you are.
It was one of those weekends that just, if you didn't go outside, what is wrong with you? My sons and my husband actually rebuilt a fence. We had sort of a rotting portion of our fence in the backyard, and they rebuilt it, and it's kind of nice seeing them all work together. So
Kamala Harris is probably very happy about it. She's pro-fence now. She's pro-wall. So good for you.
Yeah, speaking of walls, speaking of fences, we got a really sad situation going on in Ohio. This is a video that went viral, I think, this weekend. It's a small Ohio town called Springfield, Ohio. It's 60,000 residents. In the last year, they have had 20,000 Haitian refugees come into their community. And recently there was a city council meeting where some of these residents, and my gosh, many of these residents are so compassionate. They want to help these people, but their town has literally been destroyed by crime, and many of these people are intimidated. There's been some threats. Let's listen to cut 6. This is one of these residents telling the mayor and the city council that she can't take it anymore and that her elderly husband and she may need to move. So cut 6.
Noelle? Thank you.
I live at 426 Northwestern Avenue. Miss Skinner, who I'm not trying to put on the spot, is my neighbor.
Just talk to me, ma'am. Thank you so much.
And I'm done with what I'm seeing. It is so unsafe in my neighborhood anymore. I have the homeless that were trying to camp out, and I have made concessions with them, and I try to help them the best I can to keep them from trying to squat on my property. But it is so unsafe. I have men that cannot speak English in my front yard screaming at me, throwing mattresses in my front yard, throwing trash in my front yard. Jeez. And I can't. Look at me. I weigh 95 pounds. I couldn't defend myself if I had to. My husband is elderly, and last night, after living in this home for 45 years, he said, Noelle, guess what? It's time to pack up and move. He said, we can't do this anymore. He said, it's killing both of us mentally. I don't understand what you expect of us as citizens. I mean, I understand they're here under temporary protected status, and You're protecting them, and I understand that our city services are overwhelmed and understaffed, but who's protecting us? If we're protecting them, who's protecting me? I want out of this town. I am sorry. Please give me a reason to stay.
Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe, there were multiple residents that got up. This was not the only one. Multiple residents got up talking about how their town has been completely overrun. One thing that I find very interesting here, I used to work for Ohio Governor Mike DeWine. I know that this town is located between Dayton and Columbus. It is very close to where the governor's own home is. And he has done tremendous work in Haiti itself, charitable work in Haiti. Yeah. This is sort of a hobby horse of his. He has traveled to Haiti. He has done tremendous work with orphanages down there. He does know about this. According to he was quoted as saying they're trying to work with these people. Did he know that 20,000 people were going to go into this very small town in Ohio and sort of overrun it? I really would like to know more about the governor's role here and what they knew. Again, over the course of a few years, this town has been overrun with Haitian immigrants. I just find the connection kind of interesting.
Springfield, Ohio, Julie, has a population of 60,000 people. And now 20,000 Haitians have been inserted into this population since Joe Biden took office. And look, my wife's an ER doctor, and she will tell you that hospitals now are being overrun because you have all these people coming in that don't have health insurance, but yet an ER has to treat them. I mean, that's the rule, right? So I see it in New York City, for example, where you have sanitation, education, police forces being cut because the budget doesn't allow for enough money to take care of those things for people who are here legally, who were born here, because all of it's now being spent to take care of people who shouldn't be here in the first place. It's insane. It's unsustainable. And this is something that Donald Trump has to hammer home and bring up this specific example of Springfield, Ohio during the debate tomorrow night on ABC.
Absolutely. It is a strain on local governments, workforce programs, all these social service agencies, schools, housing. And on top of it, these people don't feel safe. They're being threatened. This poor woman, 95 pounds, can't defend herself. She has an elderly, disabled husband, and they're actually having to sell their home. She said at one point they've lived there something like 35 years.
45 years,
Yeah, they're going to have to sell their home and move. It is outrageous. It is outrageous. Anyway, we will talk more about this in the next segment. It is 6:43 on WMAL.
WMAL, making sense of the roads, because traffic doesn't always follow the pattern. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
Joe, a little bit more on this immigration issue in Springfield, Ohio. Want to play Cut 8. Again, we need to remember this is about people not feeling safe in their own communities, but it's bigger than that. It's about these communities changing. The towns these people live in, bought homes in, raised their children in, are no longer there. They have changed, possibly forever. It's incredibly tragic. Let's play Cut 8.
I was out and about yesterday, driving around Springfield. I was looking at the giant holes in some of our buildings. I noticed all of the old familiar spots bearing new signs in an unfamiliar language. I watched as groups of strangers walked around the city like lost tourists, and it was like a punch in the gut. A terrible sadness came over me, and I began to cry. I immediately started to think back to when I was little, walking from my grandma's house on South Fountain through downtown and all the way to Snyder Park, going to Wren's to get new school clothes and shoes, the excitement of the mall for lunch at the Blue Fox, or even better, to see Santa, riding down High Street, admiring the beauty of those stately homes and their amazing architecture, dropping pennies in the fountain and making wishes. And now, all those warm memories are becoming fuel to the fire of anger inside of me. I feel like we have been invaded by some sort of pest. I'm angry that my friends and family are packing up and moving away. I'm angry that foreigners are using up the resources that were set up for the Americans that reside here. I'm angry that another country's flag was being flown in our city. I'm angry when I see our businesses and recreational areas littered with garbage left by people that do not know or understand our laws and culture and are making no attempt to learn about them. And let me be clear, this is not about race. This is about people being given the privilege of coming here from another country and having no respect for our people, our land, or our life's work. People living their life here the way they did in Haiti, angry, stealing, polluting, living in filth, and acting like animals.
You know, Joe, that woman was calm. She was clear. And I have no doubt that the left would call her a racist for speaking about this.
No doubt about it. And this is why the populations of Florida and Tennessee and Texas and South Carolina are exploding now at this point, because people are moving out of towns like Springfield, Ohio, or they're moving out of San Francisco or Chicago or New York City because this is unsustainable. Their communities have been completely upended. I mean, you're hearing reports now out of Springfield where locals are claiming that illegal Haitian immigrants are hunting and eating their pets along with wildlife like ducks and geese. This is not the United States of America. And this isn't me being the Fox News guy. He's pushing conservative talking points. This is common sense, right?
No.
This is you can't allow 12 million people to enter this country, including hundreds of terrorists on the terror watch list, according to Joe Biden's own DHS, and expect to have a good outcome. And they're allowing it because ultimately they want to give them driver's licenses.
Well,
if they get driver's licenses, then they can vote. And if they vote, they'll probably vote Democratic. And they don't care what it does to communities at this point, Julie.
Yeah, and let's also let's talk about the fact that Democrats always like to say, you know, you pay taxes and you get all these services, right? You like those roads, you like those schools. Okay, well, I don't like the schools, but you know, you like all these services, you got to pay your taxes. Okay, now people are paying taxes, and those services are going to illegal Haitian refugees that have come into this country illegally and have been flown around the country and landed in a town of 60,000 people. 20,000 Haitian refugees end up in a town of 60,000 people. I want to just mention one other thing. I'm going to say this wrong, Saluka, Alabama. There's a video of residents very civilly demanding transparency over an influx of illegals, much like Springfield. This is the same situation, much like Springfield, Ohio. These residents just wanted information. And you know what the city council did? They shut down the meeting. They shut it down because they don't want to be honest with these residents. It is really terrible what's happening in this country. We'll talk more about this later on in the show. It is 6:52 on WMAL.